Welcome back to the Journey to Legacy podcast. This week, we are interviewing a licensed psychotherapist and therapeutic coach, Miss Lisa Pepper-Satkin. Amazing. Tune in today. You're going to honestly learn more about digging into your deeper why, actually figuring out your mission in life, which she defines as what you desire. And so much of it comes through your daily habits, your behaviors. Lisa actually discovers a lot about her own legacy throughout the episode, which was pretty exciting for me. That doesn't often happen. And in the end, she talks about how her legacy will helping kids to grow their self-esteem. What an amazing legacy and amazing purpose that she wants to leave. I hope you enjoy this episode today with Miss Lisa Pepper-Satkin. Lisa, thank you so much for being here today.
It is such a pleasure. I love your style.
Thank you. I always like to give everybody a chance in the beginning. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I guess I'm an OG because I've been in this field, in this business for decades. And I absolutely love what I do. And I remember when I had to sort of kind of hide what I did because I didn't want people to think that I was too woo-woo. And now you can't even find people who aren't woo-woo. But I guess where my business really started was after I graduated from college and I was in sales and marketing. It was so disappointing to be involved in a business that had no impact. You know, talk about legacy. Like, I think I already started looking at legacy when I was, 23, 24, and I was on an airplane talking to this woman, and I said, I really want to do something more like healing. I don't like doing sales. And it's kind of funny that I'm in sales now because I sell myself in my own business, and she said, oh, well, the best massage school is very near where you live. And the plane landed, I called the school, I set up a tour, I quit my job, and I went on to become a massage therapist because I really wanted to work with people and help really nourish people from the inside out. That's really where it started, right? And so I built a very successful massage therapy practice and loved it. And then when I was 28, I decided to go live in Central America and travel the world. And I took my massage business with me on the road, and I would trade hotels or I would trade fellow travelers, and I made money and traveled and had the best time and helped all these Guatemalan people return to their land. And when I was there was something just a little bit off because I wasn't just a traveler. I was a healer and I cared about people. And some of the travelers would be like out for beer and pizza. And then the Guatemalan people we were helping didn't even have food. And I just couldn't handle that oxymoron. And so I knew it was time to come back to the States, and I decided to become a psychotherapist. Now, I had been in therapy since I was a little girl, and so I knew the value of it. And so I went to graduate school, paid for graduate school by doing massage. I had built a traveling massage therapy business, so I would fly into Utah, which is where I was from, and I would massage all weekend long, earn enough money to support myself while I was in graduate school, and studied somatics, which is body-centered psychotherapy. So I am a licensed and trained somatic psychotherapist, which I have woven into therapeutic coaching, which is helping people know where they want to go, and then I help them get there. But first you have to understand where you've come from. Kind of like our conversation this morning, like, wait, Lisa, where'd you come from and where are we going? And I was like, wait, trust me, the story unfolds beautifully.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I finished graduate school and built a very successful practice, which I have been in and very much in love with my work and my life since then.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. So yeah, I mean, licensed psychotherapist, therapeutic coach. That's wonderful. And you described yourself as an OG. So it feels like that was always a part of you. In our pre-show sort of interview, you mentioned that from 10 years old, you sort of had this mindset and you wanted to start a business. Tell me more about that.
That's funny. So there was a lady up the street that had a jewelry business. I just marched up to her. I was younger than 10. I was probably 7. And I was like, let me help you, And so I would glue her earrings. I remember she paid me $1 an hour, and I would gather all those dollars and I would hide them in my little wallet. And then I had a really cool neighbor, older dude than me, really great guy. And we would put on bike tricks and sold tickets to the neighborhood kids. So
Oh, wow.
I've always been entrepreneurial, I guess. And my dad owned his own business. He and my grandfather had a scrap metal yard. And so I think I've always been around that kind of hustling energy, but not hustle just for myself, hustle for others. My dad always took care of his people, and I watched the freedom that owning his own business allowed him to have with his employees,
Wow.
freedom, like to help them in bigger ways,
Sure. And so it sounds like, from 7 to 10 years old, around that age, right? Helping a friend or helping down the street with the jewelry business. You guys are selling tickets to bike tricks. It sounds like you think all of this sort of came from maybe your parents or your dad being an entrepreneurship himself.
Well, and my mom too, that's a good point. She's an artist and she had a needlepoint shop in our house. It wasn't named entrepreneurship, right? And we didn't talk. All those conversations I ever had with my parents, we never really talked about legacy. But certainly my dad's legacy has been impactful. And I think about it. And I think legacy is more about what you give than what you receive. This is interesting. This is a really great topic because I haven't really thought about it being really intentional around legacy. I've always just had the pleasure of doing what I love, impacting lives in a really profound way. And then I guess that's the legacy, right?
Sure. Yeah, it absolutely can be. It's interesting for me to hear in the beginning, you say a lot of stuff with your clients, right? It's figuring out where they've been or where they are and then where they want to be, right? And that's really the way that I look at legacy is almost, a lot of people will describe it as their why in this world, right? If you ask Simon Sinek or Dean
I was just going to
Graziosi,
say Simon.
their why, right? And so I look at it as like, okay, what is this legacy? What is this whole thing that I'm working towards my entire life? And so it's interesting that that's something you don't think that much about. And so how do you sort of phrase that, or especially when you're working with people, what do you all discuss to get them from where they are now to where they want to be in the world?
I think it's sort of an itch inside of an individual, at least the individuals that come to me, because I'm not just coming to me. You have to be pretty solid in your own game to be able to invest in and work with someone like myself. That doesn't mean I don't have ways for people to enter into kind of my body of work. But the people who come to me who really want to make a significant change or transformation, it's because there's something that's kind of gnawing at them that they want to have be different. And I am very good at and very quickly can assess where they're getting in their own way and what the possibility is beyond that stuck place, right? And so I think it's a series of questions and conversations and consistency and mindset. And really profoundly important is how someone speaks into existence that which they really desire. I really help people get really clear about that. And so that they're living it, they're tasting it, they're being it. Very much like Joe Dispenza's work. I don't know if you know Joe Dispenza's work, but
yeah,
you know,
interesting. Can you maybe give us a little bit of an example of this, maybe for yourself personally, right? You're helping people get really clear on speaking into existence what they desire. And if possible, right, when you give us an example, can you maybe give all of our listeners some like actionable steps or things to think about to get a little clearer on what they desire?
Right. So I just had a client start with me, and he's to say he's top in his field in the United States. He's an attorney. He is. He's just number one. He's the top. He came to me and told me that. So I believe him, right? And he said, I have a really good relationship with my wife. I have a good relationship with my kids. And is this it? Like, I'm in my 50s, and is this it? And he said, there has to be more than that. And now I've achieved all these, accolades and all this level of success, but I don't think this is a happy life. So something's off in what I'm doing or how I'm spending my time or the way I'm in connection with people. And so we've slowly started to look at, if we may, what's missing. Or what are the habits that are getting in the way that are keeping him stuck? And the transformation he's making is just incredible. Connecting with people that he hasn't talked to or seen for a long time. Changing behaviors, his night routine of coming home and having a scotch and sitting and watching Netflix. Like, that doesn't work anymore if you want different results. And he's like, but that's what all my friends do. That's what we all do when we're together. I'm like, what could possibly be on the other side of doing that? And he said, I don't know. Okay, are you willing to know? His answer is yes, he's willing to know. And so he's stepping into all new ways of eating, drinking, behaving, relating, communicating, connecting. But if we don't get that process interrupted by working with someone outside of our own thinking, then we stay in the same habits, we stay in the same behaviors, and we get the same results. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense, right? Yeah, you talk about you have to be willing and open to change your behaviors and change your habits, or else you're going to continue to get the same results. Right. Absolutely. And it's interesting that, you asked him as well, is he open to it? Is he ready?
Willing.
For the change? Is he willing?
That's my favorite question. Are you willing? Because you will find that people are not willing. I mean, I'm working with some people right now who know the changes they need to make and not willing. But it doesn't mean there isn't work happening. Like, they're building trust and confidence in our work together, even though radical changes aren't happening yet. But they will. I know they will. Because they keep showing up each week. So it's really like somebody needs to know, am I safe to show you where I'm stuck? That's also a really key component to the way that I work with people. Like I make it really safe for them to be themselves. So then they can more easily look in the mirror and say, actually, the question you're asking, like, what is the legacy I want to leave? Right? I just don't frame it as legacy, but I probably will starting now after.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, that's why I asked how you frame it, right? Helping people to get very clear on what they desire, right? And so if we can just keep using this example, of course, you won't name who he is, or you can change it if you want to, but what is this thing that they desire, right? That's why I sort of asked previously if we can get an example on helping people get clear on what they desire. Especially, it's interesting in this individual that says he has financial success, family success, great relationships, yet still unfulfilled, unhappy. And so what is one of these examples of getting clear on what we desire?
Wait, what do you mean? I don't understand the question.
I'm trying to figure out, through the changing of behaviors and the changing of habits, right? Where are we trying to get to?
Oh, I think everybody's so different. So another woman just recently started with me, and she's single. She's in her 30s, and this is plaguing a lot of women right now in their 30s. How do I meet someone? I can't meet someone. Same thing. She's very successful in her career, bought her own house, financial success, lots of friends, socialize, everything, right? So she said, I don't know where I'm getting in my own way. And so when I met with her, I asked her about her relationship with her parents. She said, I always had a great relationship with my parents. I grew up very privileged. I grew up with, lots of brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles around. And the more that I dug into her story, I gently pointed out that her mom has a very critical voice. And her mom has been very critical of her. So loving and critical. So then it makes sense that this woman isn't going to want to open up when she's in relationship, because unconsciously she's fearful of the criticism. And so we've been doing a lot of work on really releasing the shit that her mom says to her that isn't hers. It's more of her mom's projection. And then she has developed a stronger sense of self, so she can say to her mom, hey, I don't like when you talk to me like that. Well, guess what magically is happening? Her relationships and her dating life, the relationships are lasting longer. She feels more intimacy. She feels closer. She's having a better time. And it wasn't through dating coaching, right? It's through looking at where we stall out or where we get in our own way.
Wow. Looking at where we stall out, where we are getting in our own way. For this example, it stemmed from the relationship with the mother. It's interesting, a piece there you talked about almost being willing to accept criticism. Is a little bit of a problem that she had, if I heard correctly. And it reminded me of other conversations I've been having consistently around how to be open to receiving constructive criticism. Of course, it's different for every person, but what might be some ways that you could help our listeners to actually be open to receiving constructive feedback?
That's a wonderful question. So I have a free tool on my website that's called Fire Your Inner Bully, right? So the inner bully is the criticism that you have not agreed to receive. And yet you've taken it in and you make it your own inner voice. So I work with people vehemently, which ties into my legacy, really. I work with people vehemently on releasing, firing, getting rid of your inner bully. Constructive criticism, on the other hand, is a powerful tool when we have a trusted friend or professional or colleague that we trust enough that we can say, hey, can you give me some feedback about how I led that meeting? Can you give me feedback about how our date went, depending on if you're out there dating? That is because you have an agreement to receive the feedback. Very different than the criticism that's like spewed on you and you're left there believing it. Oh, awful. We have to help everybody fire their inner bully. That's my legacy, but we can talk about that in a minute.
Help them be able to fire their inner bully. I love that. Lisa, let's take a couple steps back, right? I want to hear a lot about your journey. That's the big theme of the show, right? Is helping people to navigate the challenges as they progress. And so looking at experts and professionals like yourself, you have a lot of lessons that you've learned along the way, right? And so 10 years old, started in entrepreneurship. You mentioned that you went to college and then you had a job in sales and marketing directly after. That's correct. Right.
Such a good listener.
Thank you. How did that transition happen from a full-time job that you felt like you're having no impact to actually then working for yourself? Because that's a tough gap for a lot of people to jump.
Right. And I knew that there was something in me that wanted to give more than try and take more. So sales I was trying to get more from people. As a healer, I was giving what I could give. It was just my craft. I didn't have an expectation for them to do anything back besides pay me, right? And so I listened to that whisper inside. I could hear it and I didn't ignore it. So then this conversation with the woman on the airplane where she said, oh, the best massage therapy school is in the Bay Area. Then I took it the next step. I'm working with a young woman right now who's at a very good university. She's at UCLA. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. She's so bright and she's so miserable. Academia is not her thing. She's a healer. But the pressure we feel and the pressure we put on our kids and the Gewalt, it's so hard to go to university. But maybe that's not the best place for her. So now she's looking in the chiropractic school, which I'm thrilled about because she's a healer. And she can use all of her smarts in that modality and grow a very successful business.
Amazing. And so that transition, it seemed like it was pretty easy for you, actually, from full-time employed to leaving security.
Well, you have to save your money, right? Always save money. Everyone, listeners, all your listeners, save your money because you never know when you're going to want to pivot. And it's good to have a safety net. It doesn't matter how much you save, but get in the habit of saving because once you grow that muscle of saving, it doesn't go away. It isn't the amount you save, although that's helpful too, but it's about continuously putting yourself first so that I could quit my stupid sales job and go to massage school. And I probably got some help from my dad, probably borrowed some money and paid him back, But when something's right, it's just right. You have to do it.
Nice. I love that. I think that's a very actionable tip there. Make sure that everybody heard it. You talked about saving. What you then got to was continuously putting yourself first financially, right? Because it seems to me the hardest thing for people to do to leave a full-time job and jump into entrepreneurship is finances. is a fear of leaving security for the unknown. And so if you can actually build up a safety net for yourself first, it can make that jump, that transition so much easier, right?
It's also sometimes good just to go for it, because there's nothing like that fear that keeps you driving for it and keeps you making those phone calls. It tells the universe, if we made like, oh, I'm really serious, I want out of that and I want into that.
Amazing. I love that. That fear drives you forward, right? That's
let's
one of my
let's
favorite
not
quotes.
say fear, but like the need you have will drive you forward. I don't want people driven by fear.
Healthy fear,
right? Healthy fear.
A healthy fear, right? And it's just the fear of the unknown, right?
Totally.
Also my mind. And so, amazing. Let's touch real quick on, you built up you said a very successful therapy practice. How did you do that? A massage therapy practice, of course, before you pivoted into what you're doing now. How did you build up this successful practice?
So here you go. Graduate school. I'm paying for graduate school massaging. I have a big client base of massage clients. Then I go to graduate school, and then I graduate, and I let them all know, ta-da, I'm now a therapist. And I worked in a clinic where people paid not very much money for therapy. And then when I branched out on my own, rented a little office, all of that, some of those people came. I mean, I remember it's just work hard. And I did it very smart, in a very smart way, which was people were trying to charge more, but I was smart. I thought better to have all my slots filled at a lower dollar rate than have wide open day at a higher dollar rate. Now, what I know now is a little bit different, but what I did then was I just worked really hard. I told everybody that I knew that I was open for business, and I felt very confident in my work as a therapist. I had actually guided people since I was a little girl. I had been in therapy since I was 10. It was a passion of mine. I knew I was good at it. I also, had opportunity to do that when I was a massage therapist. I would talk to people, and if they talked, I never initiated a conversation, because massage, you want to relax. And I just slowly built my business and slowly raised my rates and slowly grew more success, and poof.
And poof, the classic overnight success, 10 years in the making. It's hard work.
It's not that. It's hard work, and it's
hard
always
work.
Still filling your pipeline and all the social media. And, someone just recently reached out to me from Spain who saw my body of work on LinkedIn and said, I want to do more leadership coaching. And so then that's exciting. I just keep.
Super exciting.
Yeah.
Nice. Lisa, well, we're running out of time, but I like to ask in the end, and it sounds like maybe your answers changed and evolved throughout this interview, around what does legacy mean to you, and what's the legacy that you want to leave on this world?
So the legacy I want to leave on this world, I created a program to help kids grow self-esteem. And that I want to be my legacy. It's called My Hearty Kid. And what it does is it teaches kids how to know themselves from the inside out. And it teaches kids that their words have power and how to use their words powerfully. And I teach kids gratitudes and affirmations. And I designed this whole fabulous program 10 years ago. And I've been busy working. And Ellen DeGeneres hasn't found it, or Oprah hasn't found it, but it is fabulous. And that is going to be my legacy. I'm going to be known as the self-esteem lady for kids.
The self-esteem lady. Beautiful.
Kids and adults, I guess.
Nice. Well, Lisa, thank you so much. Honestly, I appreciate it. I wish we had more time. Feels like it totally flew by.
Well, we can do it again and again and again. We can take your listeners' questions. We can partner however we choose.
To all the listeners out there, thank you so much for being here. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. If you like today's episode, please follow us, subscribe, and as always, share the episode. Help us to grow the Journey to Legacy podcast, help us to actually grow Lisa's business, and eventually help us to grow the world together. If you're hearing this message today, chances are good that the Journey to Legacy community is still free to join. Find us over at journeytolegacy.org. Click the button at the top and join the community of like-minded, impactful individuals, all working, pledging to better themselves, and through that, better the world. Thank you for being here. Until next time, my name is Wayne Veldsman. You've been listening to the Journey to Legacy podcast.